morning, class. Welcome to Homeroom with Unc and Market Monk.
Morning, P. How was your week?
It was good. Just still just selling off a lot of stuff I bought a while ago. Some park and wait. A lot of things getting news that basically is kind of a panning out from a couple months ago. Um, Base, for example, still been building positions in oil, selling some in gold and silver, and but yeah, overall, not a ton of buying. I don't when you have I don't like the split weeks that
Yeah,
much, so I didn't do much on Friday. But yeah, otherwise pretty good over here.
yeah, I'm with you. The split week kind of not ruined it for me, but definitely limited opportunities. I don't like trading the Fed day either, and then the split day, and then Friday.
Yeah,
So yeah, really
yeah.
short. Definitely a little more selling. Um, the firework market's a little harder to time, so you do kind of have to hang out and things and kind of just keep updating the thesis. But MP kind of stood out last week as a good one, and then obviously AAOI. We've been on that good range there, and then play. Completing another channel. And I was really thinking, all right, maybe through the summer we'll get most of this back and be in a good position, and already to the point where you got to take a pretty big chunk off of that. So um, yeah, it's just the slower pop and fade market leads you to kind of do some counterintuitive things, but um, good overall. What do you want to call it? The range that was kept and held last week through the events, um, which I'm really looking forward to seeing tomorrow too. How futures react, and how the market shakes off the weekend basically. But because it did a good job last week, with how the rates came across and were talked about from the Fed angle. I mean, you could have told me we were back in the 580s, and I would have said, well, yeah, we ran a little too hot. So still really strong up here in general overall in the market. Just have to be a little patient right now.
Yeah, I agree. And the you know geopolitical stuff, bombing Iran is not really surprising. You can't really time it, but when you're moving planes around and the rhetoric that was out there, and all of that, um, that's probably coming, and so market's going to react to that. If you're sort of a conspiracy theorist, these things happen on the weekend. That kind of connects to everything. But yeah, I mean, I think you're just in the moment. Don't chase puts. I mean, even if you want puts, and you have that frame of mind, then you wait for the quote scam rally, and then find a spot. Something makes a big recovery in the first 30 minutes, and it's probably going to give some back. It might retrace all the way down. So you're better off there than thinking that if the indices are down 0.5% or more pre-market, that you're all of a sudden just going to pile in at open and do well. In options in particular, the premiums are all nuts. The first 5-10 minutes anyway. So you're just uh, you're just caught in a storm there. I mean, there was a guy that I know that he would talk about he wanted to be trading in the first 30 seconds. Like that's what he wanted to do. And it's hard to do that with options. I mean, it's really hard to do that. It's like SPY and Apple and Tesla, like things you can where you can just do the ask and get in and out. That's kind of one thing, but you're going to get into anything with any kind of spread, you better be towards the bid side on that, and you need to not care if it fills. It's the only way to trade like that early, because nothing's really settled yet. It's just chaos. So I would not really trade chaos. I'd rather park and wait through some chaos at some good spots, and you can just search some tickers and see what we think those are.
Yeah, and market conditions usually dictate what I do within the first 30 minutes, and that's one of the better things about overall trends is, the one move or the 1 minute chart doesn't really affect your overall, levels or positions, and um, I don't run into the getting filled thing too often because of I pay attention to float size a little bit, so that that kind of helps on the share side. But yeah, I've never understood trying to be cute or quick with trading. The 15-minute trade is not really a thing over here, so um, I'm always giving myself a little bit of time, even if it's just a day trade. It's still probably going to be hour and a half, 2 hour trade. So um, I would just prefer if you really want to trade the open. I mean, use the strategy. Become an orb trader, an opening range breakout trader. I mean, you're still gonna have to give yourself more than 30 seconds, but at least you have a system or something you're gonna go off of um, in those events.
And like for me, the specific conditions where I'll trade that early, it has to be pretty definitive flow look, to catch a move to the upside, and then I might grab one or two there, but really it's the best one's an aggressive flush below a level in a bullish setup, where it's just it's selling off at open a bit or retracing to a pivot or whatever, and it's just a spot I traded before. I have to have that familiarity. That's why a lot of the same stocks show up in my notes over and over
Sure.
again, MSTR and ones like that, where MSTR will be 375, 376 in the pre-market, and I'm like, if it flushes to 370, I'm going to grab it. It does that, and then if it doesn't, that might happen later in the day, and you can still trade that. I would say that I'd make a distinction between, my notes are usually looking for something very specific, early in the day, not necessarily the first 30 seconds, but before lunch, basically. That just comes from that's what I trade. That's where the flow from the night before is relevant. All of that. You got to be careful about trying to reuse a note like that, as opposed to where we have levels and an ad zone, and that to me is just that comes from your work as like a reader, someone using these notes, this room. You got to understand what it is you're looking at, and for one thing, I mean, the first sign is if I'm out on my own talking about something, it tends to be a quick hitter. It tends to be hedged. It's a different kind of thing than the hot list or or even collabs during the week where we've got that back and forth. And that's where I think that asking questions is good. It's the best thing you could do is come to a question um, prepared and having done some prep already. Here's what I saw. What do you mean by this? That's a perfectly fine question. But a middle step can be go ahead and search the ticker, or even we get some very specific prices. Search that price, and you can often find what it is we're talking about as well.
I mean, the search button's always funny to me because like I try to be punctual and quick when people ask questions, and like
Yeah.
if I know you're not online, I'm just gonna search the group real quick and tell you what it says. So, um, I mean,
Yeah.
I'll continue to do it. It doesn't bother me much because it kind of is like, oh, I'll go look at that ticker. That's kind of what I want to do in the middle of the day. Is kind of a little bit of a proactive research. Um, Not that the best ticker usually gets mentioned or something that I entered get mentioned, but there's hope that it will be that. Um, but yeah, the search button is so good, and if I use it, you probably should be using it as well in the room. And there's only a few words you don't want to search. Most of the tickers are pretty organized in that regard, and then you can almost see in some of the tickers, at least for me, um, we talk about this every 3 months, or this comes up before the summer the last 2 years, and you kind of get that history of it too. So I really like that. Or the opposite, shit, we were really bullish on this when it was $17. Maybe we don't have as good a flow up here at 50. It gives you that kind of mentality and ideas and track record that a lot of people, if you don't keep notes, they're right here in the group for you to search. So um, it's such an underutilized tool if you don't use it. Um, it'll make you sound smart too. I mean, because if you come into the conversation like, "Hey, professor, I seen that we had, 18s in September and 20s in October on da 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 ticker. Is that still active?" You're gonna sound a lot more smart, a lot more involved than, "Hey, professor, what's the flow on da 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 da? Do we still hold this?" And
Yeah.
that's just kind of what we're looking for. And I mean, again, I'm gonna probably, if I don't have professor in the conversation, I'm just gonna search the group to see what he said. And then if it's, for me, if it's not outdated information or the move hasn't kind of already attempted to happen, yeah, just pass it along. So very underutilized. So I want to kind of double down on that.
Yeah, and I don't say that to make people feel bad about it or whatever. It's just part,
No.
it's part of learning. I mean, I'm a professor, and it's the same thing. It's the same thing with students. That we like. I get some really dedicated and engaged students. They want to get better, and then we reach that point where it's like, well, if you're working really hard, if you do this thing, it's going to make it a lot easier for you. And then you just teach them some method or whatever. I mean, I had a student where, like, with research, they were going into it like fresh every time in just databases and searching for things. And I was like, well, why don't you look at the source you found? Who are they citing? What are the names you keep seeing over and over again? And then you look for them. And so, it's just a better use of your time, more strategic use of your time. And so, it's kind of the same thing. Like, I want everyone to find their comfort zone, do what I've been able to do. These are, you know, five, six stocks I always keep up with.
Yeah,
And then,
it's a great place to
I
start.
have new ones that rotate in. I have a really intense focus on sectors, and I look at sectors a little bit differently than a lot of people who talk about them in terms of rotations and whatever. And then you start to get the story behind what's driving the market, and seeing that story take shape early. That to me, like, over the whole time we've been doing this, I was I tried to just trade momentum and trade what I saw people talking about. Didn't work. So I got into flow, and then I got into oil and materials and whatever. And I was, flow first, not a lot of regard for TA. We start working together. I built that into it, pay a lot more attention to it. I've gotten pretty decent about finding some pivots myself. I like the way my pivots react around yours. We did all of that. But then, about, got to be over a year ago now, that you talked about news, and I started to really pay more attention, not just you know to the news, but what flow could tell me about what's materializing in the market. And that's where quantum computing came from. It's where some of the crypto stuff came from. And so yeah, I mean, just building a strategy over time is what I'm after for myself, and what I'm after for everybody. And a lot of people who are here, you don't want to put that kind of time in. That's fine. I mean, there's plenty of stuff here for you. I just want you to use it as effectively as you can.
Yeah, no, time is everything. Even like with these sessions, it's a big commitment, 2 hours or so, whatever the case may be. We come out when we're done, and I re-listen to it afterwards, so I got to do it 4 hours because I'm up recording it, and then I re-listen to it just for my own personal benefit.
Yeah.
Um, I did kind of want to jump back on the. It seems like with the process that we've created, the most successful things are well, I'm going to start with our shares, and then you kind of like, you know, combo it with a little bit of options on the backside. It seems like that's really good. And then the 15-minute trade or the rinse and repeat trades on certain charts, but you have to be decisive if you're going to play that. Like those,
Yeah. Yeah.
that stuff is quick. Some of the stuff that we drop in collab, that a lot of it's secondary, but what he catches just from the collab drops, the only way you catch that is if you go make a decision right away. It either lines up with how you like what you
Yeah.
normally see, what you know your checks and balances, and you make a decision. The ones that wait usually miss the move and end up chasing. And for me, if I was adding options to the game, it would just be adding them to the share. So I still wouldn't get into that 15-minute trade. The the circle the whole wagon here is that's probably where you should start, even on options. Is get some shares and trade options around it, because you're just gonna have a little bit more time, and then you'll see the quicker setups. And then just don't get greedy. Don't turn them 15-minute trades into day trades into swings into investments, and you should be okay. Um, yeah, because I mean the work's there, and
And,
and that basket last point, P, that last basket you mentioned, that's one of the very common denominators we have between us, and we don't trade the same at
yeah.
all, but we are adamant about you need like 5, 10, 15, 20, whatever stocks that you just have, and if you want to make a career out of this, that's where it's going to be trading. I mean, we've over 50%ed play twice now. That's at Roblox. We 50%ed from two different price points. And you got to have that in your cup. In your case, it's MSTR, Coin, Lily. You just have to kind of have those stocks in the rotation to where you can, for lack of better terms, keep the lights on.
Absolutely. And with bringing options into it, like some people will trade options. It only takes one or two times of it going really poorly where they'll just be like, okay, I'm done with options, and then they'll stick to that. And I think that's fine. Like, I mean, that's probably better for most people. But if you struggle with them, there's a lot to be said for the setups where you can buy time within the budget you're looking for. And I don't often like to talk about the price of contracts as a factor to entering. But if we are going to have that conversation, then it is if you can find a setup in oil or metals or a small cap tech or whatever, where a contract's $100 to $200 and it's right at the money and it's at a level, the underlying's at a level that a setup we see, and we see a 20-30% move out of this thing, and you can just sit and wait a while in those options, and it's two contracts complementing your $2,000 worth of shares, then that's a much better way to trade options than the 5-minute trade to me. So yeah, that's always a conversation I'm happy to have. What I don't like with price is if I'm talking about a contract that's $500 to $700, and you're like, well, can I buy the same ticker for? Can I buy this one for 150? For one thing, I mean it's a lot of work for me to see if that's going to work, because there's a lot that goes into that. But it's also if it's too expensive, you just gotta trade something else, and there's plenty to choose from in here.
Buy shares. You're still going to get that 20%,
Yeah,
30% move we talk about. And,
yeah, yeah, exactly.
the no decay thing always gets me too. Like, if you got a meeting, if you're a meeting guy, or you only have that hour and a half during the day that you get and can study a little bit at night, it's just setting an alert and hoping you catch it just seems like a bad system to me. And you could probably speak more to that than me because of actually trading while working. I was still a string trader, so I mean, I really, if I got an alert or anything, I would just, it'd probably be to buy more back then, because it was really a hold and hope, planting the flag mentality back then. But yeah, you could, like you always say, you could be up 3 grand on that option, and then by the time you get back to your phone, some of that might be gone.
And with options, even the set a stop and go to a meeting doesn't necessarily work out for you. You get some weird fills on options. I mean, especially if it's not like I said, if it's not Tesla or Apple
Yeah.
or Spy, it's it can just run right through your stop and fill you $200 below that, and all of a sudden you're like, what the hell? And you have no recourse for that. There's no, you can't. Hey, can I have my money back? There's nothing you can do. So I've bailed on trades even with runners when I know I'm going to be busy. I got to go teach a class or I'm going to be in a meeting or whatever. No, I'll just I it's like I think it's probably going to go higher, but who cares?
Yeah,
I'll just
do
get
the
out
trade.
and
Yeah.
do it later. Yeah.
Yeah, I not that it's like super prevalent, but my last like option attempt or I'm gonna do the combo was that Riot. I think it's 2 years ago now, but
Yeah. 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 Yep.
I remember it was just under $5. So buy some shares, buy the $5 calls or whatever, and I was making more on the share side than the option side, and that option I don't know where it is right now, but I'm assuming it's worthless out there somewhere. And those shares are 100% from that $5 range, or 75, 80%. So that's always stuck with me. Like you'll just win long term. You might win. You can't win long term on an option, P. You just can't.
Can't. You can't. I mean, if you're and I mean I've done this with some oil smalls and things. It's like it's in the money and it's a leap and I'm planning to exercise it. Yeah, you can win long term doing that, but they turn into shares. That was the whole. You're using an option for what it was designed to be, basically, um, and it options became something else. They became a derivatives that drive price rather than just being a contract where you can access shares. A way to reserve capital or whatever. But that if you're using options as that was like intended, then yes. Um, Selling them
Yeah,
that can
do
be
that.
unlimited. People I think oversimplify how easy that is to sell calls, but there are plenty of setups to sell calls. I would just say if you own the shares already, that's step one. I wouldn't sell anything naked. That's a bad idea.
Yeah.
But
Well, the problem with
you
selling
know,
calls is you get, and I'm speaking from experience, you get a little greedy, and it puts you in a
yeah,
bad situation with the shares. So you just got to be like, yeah, it might not get to that contract I can sell for $120. I just better take this $60 one or this $30 one this week. And I mean that's the if you're gonna do that, you really got to be in control of your greed. Because if not, you're gonna lose them shares. You're gonna have to pay the taxes on them, and then you're gonna do that for $100, and those shares you'll probably never get at that price again. And it's just it's not the greatest situation, but um, I also for me, it's not gonna be for everybody, but you don't have it's not an all or nothing thing on covered calls. You can just cover call half your position. You don't have to cover call the whole thing, and that also helps a little bit over that. And that's just speaking from experience on that kind of stuff.
well, I had this big plan of way back. I was like, I want to get over 100 shares of MSTR. I think it's going to split, so probably four ways. So that means I got to get to 25 or so at the around this range, and so I did that. And the big plan was I'm gonna sell some calls on it. That'll be fun to do. But it was such a massive win that it was like as it peaked and then started to retrace down. I was like, this is stupid. I'm just gonna just get out. Like I'm just gonna
Yeah,
sell and then I'll retrade it. And so that's what I ended up doing. So even though everything materialized as had wanted it to, that I get in a good price here, it'll split. I have this, the share number of shares I want. Still, just the take the win impulse for a stock like that just took over, and I just, ended up selling all of it. And that's happened every time I had that idea of something that, I think is going to end up splitting SMCI or whoever. It's not worth it to hold on to that many shares. It's just it ends up being a big percentage of my account locked up in this to do what? To sell a call every week.
Yeah.
No, I just get out.
Yeah, let's not do that. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Again, that's where the sizing comment kind of came in a little bit. It might not work for everybody in that regard.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
oh, you tell me. I don't need much conversation on it, but I just want to throw it out there because you talked about the 15-minute chart last week. So I actually switched my little chart here because I usually have this when I'm trading. This is a 5-minute, the big guy. Um, I just kind of research. I just keep it on the 10-year for the volume P for the research. But when I'm trading, I like the big screen. So I switched my little screen over here on this page to a 15-minute, and boy, P, the 1330, the short term EMAs I like to use, I really liked on that 15-minute chart. I mean, SPY's probably not a good indication, but throw that up on MSTR when you have
Yeah.
time and tell me what you think about that because it was ridiculous. Um, how reactive it was, which kind of shows the short-term volatility to it. Yeah, look, I mean, he never broke this trend. Um,
Yeah.
pretty much the whole week. But yeah, interesting that that you like the 15-minute chart, and I normally don't use it. I do see why you like it, and I think if you're on a minute chart or you don't like larger time frames, it's a good place to start.
It is, and to me, it was like the wicks, and the way the wicks operate around the pivots,
Yeah,
and so something that looks so much more dramatic on a 1-minute chart, you get more clarity on, okay, what's really going on here, and if a pivot's sort of likely to hold. Um, all of that to me, RSI even works better. Like, so all of that. What I would say about if you're an options trader, um, use a minute chart to get out, not get in. Like, you know what I mean? Like you don't want to go that short on an entry. But when you're deciding to get out, and the minute chart RSI peaks to 80 or something, yeah, that's probably about to pull back, and that premium's about as juice as it's going to get for this part of the day. So it can be good to get out, but yeah, it's been pretty important for me. I haven't really I have a formula for pivots that I haven't used in a long time because I have so many good
math.
ones that I just keep using. But the 15-minute chart was a part of the recipe for that too.
Yeah, I remember you saying you had a math equation basically that you would come up with them.
Yeah. Yep. Hmm.
I like it.
Yeah, and I had enough of them centered around spots and flow, and the way the market's gone is we're just back to old pivots, and I'd rather use the old ones than come up with new ones.
That makes sense. Yeah, I don't. I mean, preaching
Yeah.
to the choir. I don't switch my level. It takes an act of God to switch a level for me.
Yeah, yeah.
Am I getting some boring stuff here? We're about the 30-minute mark.
Yeah, let's do it. All right, so I'm gonna start with copper. Yeah, not much changed from
Last week.
last week. Still just some consolidation. Kind of what you want to see. That it's the fact it's not even going back to set up at 450 or something. That's pretty bullish to me. That there's some accumulation happening here, and this can push much higher. This can also, it can kind of pout with the market a bit if we get some big pullback, but more of an opportunity there. And I don't trade copper futures, but definitely there's some relevant tickers we talk about a lot that I think are setting up nicely. As far as steel goes, you got X out of the equation now, so it's all about CLF, and then there's a couple couple small caps I'll probably be talking about over the next couple weeks. But yeah, so I'd be looking for that.
I had one comment. I was gonna do it as a topic, but I just kind of held it off for this section. In general, man, deregulation is gonna be the quickest way to create progress versus new additions or the big beautiful bill. Um, because if you're trying to build something new, it there's a process to that, permits, yada yada yada, there's red tape, yada yada yada. If you get some
Yeah.
deregulation, you can just kind of like pivot what you're already doing. So I think that's the hope in general for the sector. Um, Not necessarily to rebuild or excuse me, for the yeah, I guess the sector for the materials to really get moving. I think any kind of thing like that's going to be the short term push. Um, Versus the pouting we're currently doing because we're not getting that big infrastructure bill, and we probably won't. I mean, the market's going to figure that out eventually. That this president has other ideas. um, but the
Yeah.
deregulation for me is the key sign I'm looking for to really get the stagnant out of this market. So I'll buy pullbacks until then. If you didn't read between the tea leaves there.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you there. And I look a little more towards aluminum right now than copper. But there's there's one copper name I like a lot that I think
Mm-hmm.
people know. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah. All right, so then silver. I saw tweets about some collapse in the silver market, and it was a collapse to $36. So whatever.
Sweet.
But I'm not really that concerned about that.
Yeah, AG's 819. When am I gonna get my bag back?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So so yeah, I mean it's I think I mean if anything, I guess mid candle around that last breakout of the $35 area. I don't think it pulls all the way back to 32 again, but yeah, I can set up around here for a little while. So flow will come in as it comes in on some of those. There's some. I think the combo stocks are going to be pretty good, and also the ones who aren't pure miners, the gold and silver middlemen. I'll get a little more into that in some of my flow reads. That you're just as this move takes shape and continues to take shape, and gold sets up here again. You have to be more picky about the setups and when you buy, what countries they're in, and what's going on there matters a little more. So your SBSWs, of the world, might hear more about them. So it's not just throw a dart easy mode for metals, but still a good place to be, and still some opportunities going to show up there.
It's another one where news is kind of king, especially on the pullbacks, and you get some power outage
Yeah,
or power outage, or they need to test the water at a mine shut down, and everyone just gets that keyword that it's shut down, and when you look into it, it's only going to be a day or two, and you get a pullback there, and you just get a retrace. I think
yeah,
that's the best setup in the sector for the miners currently, is the news pullbacks. And then I'm totally 100% same page. The combo, the ones that are like the straight gold names is a good example. Um, you miss those. You miss those in December.
yeah,
The
yeah.
combo stocks, the ones that got a little more moving parts, better place to be.
Oil, oil's likely going to see a big gap up in that first futures candle. I You don't chase that. You never chase war news with oil stocks. You find some that are lagging or don't get noticed, and that kind of thing. You should be pretty well positioned in oil by now. I think I've been on that enough that stuff that you added when oil was in the 60s, that you still have sold some and should have a little bit. Morning to add new stuff. There is still plenty. I think pipelines, equipment, offshore, like there's lots of things there, and then some oil and gas combos in particular, I think are pretty good too. You're going to see natural gas in the news a lot more over the next
Mhm.
6 months. So as far as that chart goes, yeah, I mean it's still there's a it's going to break into 5 to 7, 5 to 8, 5 to 9, maybe. That's what I'm after there. I don't. Nine's probably kind of a stretch. It's been a while since we've been up there, but yeah, 5 to 7 area is to me sort of the true price of oil. There's still this thing going on in Ukraine that people aren't as focused on these days, but as that works itself out, you'll see those break into that, and there's just so many. There's a lot of very large companies that trade in the $80 range that are going to be over $100, I think, late this year. So I'm just scaling in on ones like that.
It's a one project we do actually have some substance to is that pipeline in Alaska, and then joining
Yeah,
that to the Pacific countries. So it's kind of two tiered, like a short term project and a long term project. So yeah,
yep.
probably the most hopeful of the fuels to me, and still oversold.
It's. I fill up my car for $8, so you know
Nice.
that part of the natural gas price I do like. I could live with it going up a bit if the stocks I hold are going to go up too. But yeah, gas is very cheap and very abundant and very clean. The part that people will eventually realize about it, I think.
We don't. We electric
Um,
people don't fill up. We charge to 80%, sir.
yeah, yeah, there you go. Hey, if I ever move to another part of the country, the natural gas vehicle would not be as appealing because there
Yeah,
wouldn't be the
yeah.
as
I
many
don't.
options to fill it
I
up, I
couldn't tell
imagine.
you where to fill it up out here at. Like that's not a.
It would
That's
be the gas company, like because we do that here too. They'll have a little fill up for mostly. I'll be in line with
the bottle container
garbage trucks
guys.
and stuff.
Oh, okay,
With
okay.
a
Yeah, okay.
so like, yeah, so a lot of city vehicles use natural gas. I mean, there might be more electric vehicles out there, but yeah, it's pretty common for like the city vehicles to do that. So they'll have a city fill up station,
Okay,
but
that makes
as far
sense.
as getting it at Conoco or something, it's not going to be as common out there. Um, all right, so uranium did what I talked about. That I was like, this under 72 is gonna we're gonna get some breakout here. So this can go on and on, and uh, it has a finicky reaction to news. So bombing some enrichment facility under a mountain in Iran um, should doesn't have anything to do with uranium mining halfway around the world, but it can stocks can react to that. So I think the ones that talk about modular reactors and have big idea stocks, I think are where you're going to see the best rinse and repeat range. So I'd still stay on those names. I think we had the entry for the miners to be honest. Um, they can still go much higher, but I'm not entering anything new there. I'm just keeping what I have.
If you do enter something new, enter the shitty penny or the blue chip of the sector. The middle ones are
Yeah,
gonna
right.
be harder to trade. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, yes, yeah. Like CCJ does have that option look that's 20-30% up from here. So, um, I see what you mean there.
Yeah, and then you can play
Um,
the D or the U-Roy. You can scalp those a little easier
oh
to
yeah, yeah,
trade.
yeah. DNN. Yep.
Or U-Roy, same thing. Was the LTH down there? Was that lithium? Is that lithium at the bottom? Was that or no?
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Will you give me your assessment on
Just
that? Because those charts are fucking amazing right now. Obviously, you can see where the commodity's at, but those charts are like give me a reason to, and like even just on some like relief or retrace, you got 30-40% in a lot of these names.
Yeah, it's gonna break out of this downtrend and hit 10 to $12. It's really hard to time that, but if you got lithium charts you like,
Would you
I
start
think
buying?
it's a good time to park to yeah, I'm buying
Okay.
and just park and wait. I mean, there are lithium charts that it's not crazy to say that the stock's going to go up 3 to 500%.
Yeah.
Um,
Are we talking about the
I
same
mean,
one?
yeah,
Starts with an S, ends with an L.
yeah, I think we are. Yeah, we are. So yeah, no,
Okay, just
it's a
checking.
good time to buy
Yeah. Well,
the chart hasn't really given a reason. It's a little like the uranium chart though. Notice no wicks. It's just you
yeah.
kind of hear about it
Yeah.
after the fact. So yeah, lithium's dirt cheap and just needs a reason,
Yeah.
and it's gonna
I'm with you
get
buying that thing
explosive.
just under fucking five. Because I'm with you. It probably goes to
Yeah,
15.
yeah,
It probably goes to 15 with any kind of substance
yeah,
or news. And then, like I said, basic relief, you get back to 9 or 10, and that's a great trade. No, I just have, you haven't talked about it in a while,
yeah.
and I have that on an own independent check in regularly on these charts and kind of just wait for you. And
Right.
it's getting to the point where, like, hey, these charts we should just buy. I don't care what you say. um,
Oh, I
but
know, and yeah, the I would say that so the sector flow there is dominated by the rare earth stuff right now, and then your gold and silver, whatever. But when I just dig for lithium and look at it, like yes, I mean it. There are some good setups. Whales aren't in some big hurry, and they're not trying to time it. So if you go into it with that attitude, then I think you'll do very well.
yeah, like that U.S. AR running. As soon as it did, I went right to lithium. I was like, are these gonna go with it? And just really haven't picked up the the overall sector news yet. They need something pretty direct. It seems like so.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And
10 year,
the 10 year quiet week for the 10 year, which is good. That's
it's
any
amazing. Yeah,
like the upside we had is attributable to that. Um, could go a little nuts with what's going on in the world. As long as that's short lived, then no big deal. Just be careful. Um, keep an eye on it. Just take a look at how stocks you trade react when it starts getting chaotic, and you can learn a lot about
no,
that.
that's in a great spot for
Um,
me. That's in a great spot for after last
yeah.
week.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. And then the dollar. Just to mention that real quick. I mean, that's been in the dirt for a while. This is a deliberate policy agenda to bring the dollar down, in my opinion. The why the administration wants to do that. There's a lot of on the surface reasons or conspiracy theory reasons you could get into, but this yeah, just watch out if this starts to surge for some reason. It can affect things too, but not something that I follow every day or certainly do TA on or anything like that. But it's the market can trade around whatever the dollar's doing. It's just if it starts to move quickly, then it can affect things. But if it's just gonna bleed out slowly or pop and fade, it doesn't really amount to a whole lot, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a break point where it'll become talking point on the news. That's yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's when it becomes an algo keyword, that it affects things a little more, I guess. Um, all right, so then round around to Bitcoin for a minute, and let's just go live on that. Breaking under 100K today, so that's a little bit of a preview of what futures are probably going to look like early.
Mm-hmm.
Um, don't chase puts. I guess that's what I'd say there.
Yeah, what was the number? I think it was 85 and no, it was like 75 and 95 or something like that. We're still there on SPY. Um,
Yeah,
Bitcoin probably will uh, overdo it a little bit. especially since it's 24-hour traded. So I think that's a good comparison, is see where futures are with the Bitcoin pullback, and
Um,
we'll probably retrace in the morning.
92 is like a spot on me
Yeah,
for Bitcoin
yeah.
to look at.
Well, I wanted 95
And
consolidation, and we've been in above 100 for like 3 weeks, which I mean isn't a bad thing, but yeah,
so
there's a downside number that I like 92, where you kind of get outside of the trend or the range, and we're not there. So
a big winner based on our conversation was Coin, because you asked me like, hey, you haven't really been on Coin as much, and I was just like, well, I do have this 250 pivot. I was kind of looking for 220, but you're right, Coin does look pretty good, and so I put Coin in my notes on Monday. I was like, it's going to open right at this 250 pivot. I like a hedged upside trade, and then it went over $300
300, yeah.
to close the week. So yeah, I hit MSTR several times, but just hit Coin once, and that was all it needed. So did really well on that.
Coin fits one of them another one of them charts, man. 50% of that thing 3 or 4 times. Share side 50%
Yeah.
of that thing 3 or 4 times, and it's just a good stock to have in your basket, even for me. So
Yep.
yeah, happy with where we're at on that one. It's a blue chip.
All right,
sir.
so
It's a blue chip, a crypto.
Oh yeah, and they're plugged into everything going on. They're not even a competitor for the institutions. The institutions use them basically for things. So
Yes.
yeah, they'll just they have just a spigot of fees that pile in. That's continuous, regardless of what crypto's doing. So yeah, there's a lot of good things there. Best opportunities are, big red pre-market and all that. So
Is there any coins that you
that
would trade right now besides Bitcoin? I'm just curious. I don't pay attention to that shit.
No.
Okay.
None.
That's what I thought you were gonna say.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, Ethereum's got issues with gas fees. The Solana pumped out fund, they got banned on Twitter, and I think that's just the beginning of what's going to happen to them. And I honestly think the way a lot of small caps are moving is telling me where the money's going. So I think the meme coin thing's drying up pretty quickly, even with Bitcoin up here.
Is that what that crash out thing was? A meme coin? How's that doing?
Yes. Yeah. Not well. Yeah.
He said not well.
I mean, it's yeah. If you compare it to the Bitcoin's been much better than the crash out, and I don't even know the guy who was on that. I don't know what happened to him. I think he
crashed out,
deleted his account.
No, he went.
I
think he went. Right. He left and he came back. I think rocking Bible verses.
Oh, he did.
I think that's what happened with that guy. Yeah. He was out though for a couple weeks. Poor feller.
Yeah.
I tried.
Yep.
I reached out once.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I did. I tried with some of those other guys too. All right, so can talk some SPY contracts.
Let's do that. Yeah, and get out of here. What do you got?
All right, so the 550 put for October and the 535 put for September have a lot of open interest and are used to manipulate things a bit. And I don't think that it's those numbers that in particular that I would look for, but they're setting it up to test the 570 to 580 area is what I see right now.
Yeah, 575 or 585, whatever, right there is the 50. Excuse me, 575 is the 50. On the weekly, 605 605 looks real big to me. They wanted to keep it down there, and we didn't have enough to push through. So yeah, I mean that's gonna be the range. We kind of talked about that consolidation here in general. It seems like you're seeing it. When we had the first pullback, your numbers were dramatically lower. So like that's like I mean, that's not really even a big pullback if you just look at the where we were in April on the weekly. So it's not even mid candle back down 550. So probably just a natural insurance position for those guys. The range that they're looking at, no doubt, is kind of is bullish to me. They don't have a wide range. So again, that consolidation.
Well, if you look at the main thing I want you to look at with it is look at the price of these contracts. So it's 500 to 700, basically, 1,000 to 1,200, and they can do a lot just moving in and out of that as and you'll see that price. I mean, obviously, as we get closer to them, those numbers are going to move down. But this is what they just keep moving in and out of, and it's not. You can see like it's heavily sold on the October 550, and then they're buying more of the at a the 535 lower, lower. They're buying more of the lower strike and selling more of the higher strike 1 month apart. But yeah, those prices, and you could just call up the chart on this contract and trade it if you really felt like it. You buy it in the low 500s and you sell it towards 700. It's what they're doing. You can just do the same thing if you want to. I don't really like that, to trade that, but I'm just saying, like, that's that range of that contract day to day is important, and you're not going to see any calls wake up until we get into the 580s to me. So that's what I'll be looking for, is for a call to show up on this list, and then we'll see where it's at.
Yeah, it sounds like it's kind of hard to trace by right now. Or you gotta be not greedy, have good timing. It's got to be a little more.
And I mean, do you want to trade something where the best move is overnight and it's a coin flip which one it's going to be?
Yeah, probably.
That's
not.
what SPY is right now. So
probably not.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, so more consolidation sounds like from my end, bigger picture. That's what it sounds like. I mean, that's what I see on the chart too. We don't have a reason to go anywhere. We said slow into the summer. Kind of seeing that materialize. God, that's a lot of green.
Yeah, and I don't have it. Yeah, this is SQQQ. Yeah. I don't have anything. You'll see me bring this up soon. I don't have any big reason to. 620, you look at all these expired contracts. So this is a flow reset on SQQQ is about to happen. And that's an interesting time for it to happen. We going to have the market turmoil about the war and all of that stuff. You get a bunch of contracts off the books, and they can go in fresh, and we'll see what they come up with. So if I start mentioning SQQQ, just sort of pay attention to that, because usually do pretty well with that one.
Nice. Oops, I hit an extra page there. Awesome. Yep, that works for me. Ready to get to work, Pete?
Yep. I'll just need a quick break, and we'll get at it in about 3 or 4 minutes.
Perfect. Like and subscribe. Link somewhere, people.